couple of weeks back, the UK government's official transportation policy going forward over the next 3 decades that they're developing with Ofcom, which controls all the communications in Britain, directs them to install black boxes in all cars. And this is also being introduced in other European countries as well as Japan, whereby it would be run by a Wi-Fi signal to, quote, solve traffic congestion and reduce global warming, reduce CO2 footprints. They would remotely control people's cars to slow down so as to reduce the chance of traffic jams. Of course, if they have control of that, they have control of your basic right to mobility.
Yes.
Because they could withdraw permission for you to even start the car in the first place. So that's the big problem with the Internet of Things as it relates to transportation going forward.
And they're even talking about that as being part of the Internet of Things. Of course, it raises security issues for people. Malicious hackers could cause car crashes. You could have governments could single out particular individuals, and of course they could have a malfunction. We should all remember that all these cases that we've had in the recent past of various automobile manufacturers who had uncontrolled acceleration that left people dead or crippled in many instances. You didn't hear much about that in the mainstream media because, of course, the automobile companies are big sponsors of commercials, just like the pharmaceutical companies are big sponsors of commercials. They tend to cover that stuff up. And, of course, if you've got a computer-controlled car and your computer crashes, now you're physically in that crash. But, of course, they will cover that up. They will compensate the victims under condition that they don't talk about that, so they be able to maintain this illusion that all the people that are dying from accidents from careless drivers, that'll all be gone. Of course, we'll have people who will be dying then from software errors. That's the thing that concerns me. But even more so, Paul, is the fact that they're going to have control over our movement. And this affects a lot of things. This affects the Agenda 21 example for where they restrict you to certain urban centers and keep you out of the rest of the country. This is a very pervasive total control regime. And when they do it with transportation, that's when they can exercise total physical control.
Yeah, the challenge we've got, David, is to get young people irate and angry about this, because I was looking at some of the polls beforehand on how young people view surveillance, because we talk about this again and again. They appear to be quite happy to sacrifice privacy for convenience. They've grown up in the internet age where everything is on demand, everything is instant, and they're willing to sacrifice that, and they don't really seem to care about privacy rights and where that's heading. So there was a Pew Research Center poll not too long ago which found that NSA spying receives more support from people under 30 years old than any other age group. So people aged 18 to 29 approved of the NSA spying program. This was after the Snowden revelations at a rate of 61% compared to just 40% from the 65 and older crowd. Wow. And that was the Pew Research Center poll. So, you know, even people on the left like Noam Chomsky have looked at this and concluded that, you know, why is this? Why do young people so willingly sacrifice privacy for convenience? Why do they not seem to be so put off by government surveillance? And he points out that the whole exhibitionist nature of the internet culture with social media and specifically Facebook has made people so much more comfortable with the idea that everything they do is going to be public, no matter what it is. Which comes back to the Samsung thing and what John McCain said after the Don Sterling revelations, that every private conversation you have, you should consider that to be on the record, to be open to surveillance.
As Julian Assange said, it's like Facebook and Twitter is like having all your friends wearing a wire. But I think it's no coincidence, Paul, that the very first reality show, which it's almost as if the younger generation believes that they're in a constant reality show, that if everybody is watching everything that they do, somehow that makes them a celebrity. The very first one of those shows was called, of course, Big Brother. I don't think that's any coincidence. One of the things you're talking about, how they love social network, they're going to be perfectly happy to have their movement completely controlled and limited by the government if they'll be able to sit in their little bubble of a car without a steering wheel, without any brakes, and just sit there with their face on social media, with their face in Facebook, with and tweeting out where they're going. That's where the next generation is going. That's the challenge before us. And, of course, the schools are a large part of that. Stay with us. We're going to be right back with Paul Joseph Watson.
Baby, I'm gonna leave you.
A lot of people's lives and bodies are out of balance. AlkaVision Plasma pH drops optimize pH level and get rid of harmful waste and acid. Just a few drops in water restores vibrance and energy and gets you back in balance. Now order 2 bottles and get $10 off your order. Sign up for monthly auto shipping and save 25%. Call 800-518-7615 or visit alkavision.com. Alkalize your body. Supercharge your health at alkavision.com.
We love that you're passionate about GCN. And whether you're a listener, a business owner, or a radio industry professional, we've redesigned the new GCN newsletter to keep you in the know. Get updates on your favorite GCN shows and hosts. Go to GCNlive.com and click on the banner in the upper left corner. Just for signing up, you're automatically entered for monthly giveaways. Start receiving your newsletter today. The future of talk radio. GCN.
Hi, folks. Alex Jones here with some important information. I want to tell you about Matt Redhawk and his team of patriots over at My Patriot Supply. Several years ago, Matt was sitting in his 2-bedroom apartment, frustrated with the direction this country was headed and the charlatans willing to sell us out for a quick buck. Deciding to take action, a company run by patriots for patriots was born. My Patriot Supply has never taken a loan or accepted outside funding. They now operate 2 distribution facilities and employ over 50 hardworking American men and women. It is rare to find companies who practice what they preach. And that's why I stock my pantry with high-quality storable foods from My Patriot Supply. Go to mypatriotsupply.com/Alex today for special offers on emergency food storage or call their preparedness specialist at 866-229-0927. That's 866-229-0927. Do business with someone who shares your values. mypatriotsupply.com/Alex.
What good is a Big Berkey water filter?
We get that question a lot here at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. And in a word, the answer is protection. Protection from water main breaks, E. coli contamination, environmental chemical spills, pesticide runoff, chlorine taste and smell, and all forms of fluoride. Plus, Big Berkey water filters are the original gravity water filter system and most trusted on the market for a reason. Tested by multiple independent NSF EPA certified labs, they are the gold standard in water purification. At only 1.7 cents a gallon, a single set of filters can last for 5 to 10 years. That means big savings. Big Berkey, the one that's powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get a Big Berkey today at BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. GCN listeners receive 5% off all ceramic filter systems. Visit our website or call 1-877-99-BERKEY. That's 877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Quantitative easing, unemployment at depression levels, Europe financial system falling apart, China getting out of U.S. treasuries. At the end of 2008, the time of TARP, the national debt was at $11 trillion, gold trading around $850 per ounce. Close to 2012, the national debt exceeded $16.4 trillion, gold doubled to $1,600 per ounce. The $20 trillion threshold for the national debt is inevitable. Politicians in Washington have a ferocious appetite for spending and stimulus. What's worse, a printing press to finance. 100 years ago, we had a gold standard to limit this madness, but now you have to adopt your own gold standard. Don't be fooled with paper promises. Get Midas Resources 10 Reasons to Buy Gold free by calling 800-686-2237. Understanding the gold and silver market may be the only insurance you could have to avoiding the next economic crisis. Call 1-800-686-2237 and order your free copy. Again, that's 800-686-2237.
Cyrus Jones from 1810 to 19.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm your host today, David Knight, joined from the UK with Paul Joseph Watson. And Paul, just before the break, we were talking about how passive the younger generation is towards social media. We had to cut it short to go to the break. Go ahead and continue with what you were going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to make the point that, you know, on the flip side of that argument, young people are now so energized about healthy lifestyles and eating well and food. We saw the recent victory with the Food Babe getting the preservative out of the cereals. That was a massive victory. They instantly had to respond to that petition and remove the preservative from cereals. And we're having numerous victories on the health front, driven mainly by young people. So the question I have is, you know, why are larger numbers of people willing to change their habits, their lifestyles, and spend more money on what they eat and their health? Why are they more likely to want to reassert more control over their health than they are their privacy rights? And again, it goes back to this problem about Facebook and social media where, you know, it promotes mindless content over serious content. So it encourages people to post more and more private information about themselves, and then that normalizes the whole process. And they've actually done studies whereby, you know, narcissism is now through the roof, and people's brains are actually becoming more infantile because of this reward they get from the likes, from the comments on Facebook when they post mindless photographs of themselves or reveal private information about themselves. So whereas in the past that wouldn't be rewarded, now it's being socially rewarded by the very basic algorithm of how Facebook works. So, you know, I could post a serious article or a video and it will get 4 shares and 7 comments. I can post a comment, as I did the other day, saying, what's your favorite mobster movie? And within 5 minutes, it's got 50 comments. So Facebook, their algorithm works to promote mindless content. So that encourages people to be more mindless, to be more infantile and narcissistic about how they relate with Facebook. And then they get rewarded for that. So that's the challenge that we have to overcome in getting people concerned about privacy and scaling back this idea that sharing every facet of your private life is somehow normal and should be encouraged, because it shouldn't.
Well, it's bread and circuses. I mean, that's really what's behind so much of this. And certainly that's behind what's going on with the Samsung television as well. People don't care that somebody is listening to every single word and it's being transmitted to a third party. All the conversation, the private conversations happening in their living room, they really don't care that they got a Big Brother box there. And as we mentioned yesterday in the Snowden documents that came out in Germany late last spring, the NSA was bragging about how they had enacted Big Brother using the iPhone and laughing at Americans and people all over the world who would line up to pay for their own Big Brother device. And that certainly is what the Samsung device is. But it's all about convenience. It's about entertainment. It's about bread and circuses. That's the way they've always always controlled the mass public. And that's the way they're doing it now. We're going to take some calls in the next segment with Paul. The number, if you want to call in, is 800-259-9231. Again, that's 800-259-9231. Paul, I want to go to another story that you put up today, kind of a curious story. I haven't had time to see the video. Maybe you could kind of walk us through this hoax, you ask. There's a bizarre satanic ritual being described by children in a video. Tell us about that.
Yeah, this is a chilling video, whether it's a hoax or not. I mean, it's gone completely viral over the weekend. It's got over 1,000 comments on Reddit. It's got 200,000 views on the original YouTube video. And it's basically 2 young children describing how they were allegedly sexually abused and forced to partake in bizarre satanic baby sacrifice rituals by all these police, head teachers, and other local officials in an area of London. There are literally 20 videos of these children on the internet describing in detail what they were put through. I mean, it's not substantiated other than the claims that they're making. A lot of people have watched the video and said they're being coached by their parents to say these things. They're saying that this is just to demonize the father in a custody battle. But the fact that it's gone so viral over the weekend means that it needs to be addressed by the relevant authorities, because it's becoming a huge story. So I drew attention to it and then made the point that unfortunately a lot of these allegations are now proving to be true in different areas. We've got the Westminster paedophile scandal. Of course, we had the Jimmy Savile scandal, where a lot of these satanic rituals are actually alleged to have taken place by the victims, and a lot of that is now coming true. So God only hopes that it's a hoax, because it's a very disturbing video, but I thought it was important to draw attention to it simply because of the traction it's got, which is massive.
And of course, that Jimmy Savile case, that was covered up multiple times by Scotland Yard. They shut down that investigation from higher up. Stay with us. We'll be right back. If you want to talk to Paul, 800-259-9231.
We're on the